And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Monday Special. It's time to get into our discussion, which really is just walking you through the entire electoral process from start to finish. I'll introduce my guests who are seated up on stage with me as part of our mega panel tonight. To my far right is IEBC Commissioner Dr. Roselyn Akombe-Kwamboka. Next to her is IEBC's ICT Manager Chris Musando. And next to him is lawyer Peter Wanyama and Dr. Sam Kamau, political analyst, who will be part of our technical panel probing IEBC on the processes you are about to see. But before we get into that demonstration of how you will be voting on election day to the point where the presidential announcement is made, I want to start with you, Dr. Kwamboka, to just clarify various issues that have been in the media. Today you had a meeting with presidential candidates to discuss the procurement of the presidential ballot papers. It somewhat ended in disarray with no clear way forward. What was the objective of the Commission in this meeting, and now what next?
Thank you very much, Anne, and thanks for this opportunity. I wouldn't describe the completion of that meeting or the conclusion of that meeting as disarray. What I think was important was to get all the actors together and ask the tough questions. That are we all committed to ensuring that we have an election on 8th of August? And we got a unanimous nod from all the candidates there, all their representatives, that everybody is committed to ensuring that we have an election on the 8th of August. And I think one of the things that came out very clearly from the various actors there was that was reiterating the independence of the institution, independence of the IEBC, and that they leave it to the IEBC. At least a majority of those participants wanted to leave the procurement process in the hands of the IEBC to proceed with it. I think for us the purpose was consultative, to consult, and I think we got the various views, and now that we have all the various views of the various actors, I think we're in a position as a commission to sit down and chart the way forward in the next 1 or 2 days.
Isaac Ochamotieno is asking, why does IEBC want to appeal the court ruling on the presidential ballot papers, and what is wrong with tendering afresh so that the presidential ballot can be safe?
I mean, look, there are very critical issues that were raised by the judgment, and one of the most critical areas was about public participation in a procurement process. The judges themselves, in their wisdom, pointed out that there is no framework, there is no existing framework, there is no legal framework for issues of public participation in a procurement process. You will notice that even in their ruling, they actually were using examples from South Africa when they were looking at public procurement, public participation as it relates to public procurement. So, you know, they admit that there is no precedent in the country. We do not have a clear formula on how to proceed on that. So for us as the IEBC and as an organization, we want to ensure that somebody does not come and question the flak jackets that we have bought, or the voter education material that we have bought, or the pens that we have bought for purposes of the election, and come and declare the election illegal because there was no public participation. So it is absolutely important to look at these things in a broader perspective, and the only way you can be able to get that clarification is by moving a step higher and going to the Court of Appeal to be able to get that.
You're also hoping that Al Ghurair will be able to continue printing the presidential ballot, and if you do lose that appeal, then what next?
I mean, look, we have already said in the statement that we issued on Saturday, we said 3 things. We said that we were going to proceed and have public participation, and we will be sending out a notice seeking public participation. We also said that we were going to be meeting with the political presidential candidates whom we have met with today. We also said that we were going to do the appeal, which we have done. So for us, the issue of how we proceed, or whether you're having a fresh tender for the presidential ballot is will not, you know, the two issues are not mutually exclusive. It's not like if you do one, you can't do the other. So that is why we are proceeding on both fronts. Yeah,
all right. Radio Toy is asking, explain how you will procure the ballot papers in time for the election.
I mean, we have heard from the various presidential candidates today and their representatives that they acknowledge that the only method that you are going to be able to use to be able to meet the deadlines is the direct procurement. And so we'll be putting various questions to the public in the next few days and get the views of the public, and we're hoping that the viewer that has written to you will participate in that public forum that we'll have to give their views on what they think we should be moving forward with.
So you're confident that you'll be able to do this in time and we'll still have a poll on August 8th?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that is one assurance that the Commission made today. Chairman Chebukati was very firm when he said today that we will have an election on 8th of August. We will do what it takes. And that is what we are as leaders, that there will be a time when, as leaders, we'll have to take those tough decisions, that we will have to ensure that we do what it takes to be able to deliver an election on time.
All right. Now we want to walk you through the entire election process, and I'm just waiting for one of my clerks to get on set very quickly. We're going to do it from start to finish, and assisting us in this demonstration is Pamela Owiti. She's from Saffron Identity Security, which is the firm that supplied this KIMS kit, and she's going to be, for the purpose of this demonstration, our voter. You'll be hearing the voice of Anne Diritu, who is IEBC's manager for electoral training. Anne, walk us through the process from the point where polls open at 6 a.m. What will greet the voter?
Okay, when the polling station opened at 6 a.m. in the morning on the 8th of August, and the voter comes into the polling station, we expect that you will be asked for identification document as the first thing. You give us your ID, or the passport, depending on what you used to register. Immediately after that, the clerk will check at the voter to confirm that this is the voter who is identified in the ID. And then when he is confirmed that he is identified, he let the voter proceed to be identified using KIMS. And he will ask the voter to place the finger on the KIMS after setting up the KIMS for electronic
go ahead, place your finger. Let's see that.
Yeah, so go ahead and you get identified. Yeah, we ask you to place your finger. Yeah, when the right turn red, that is when the kit is ready for voter identification. And immediately the voter is identified, it will make a sound, and then there will be a tick at the end of at the right hand corner of the KIMS kit to just verify, to show that the voter is verified and he has been identified. The photo of the voter will come up, and this confirms that the voter has been identified.
What happens if you're not able to identify the voter biometrically?
If the voter cannot be identified through the use of fingerprints, we proceed and do alphanumeric search of the voter. We key in the details of the ID of the voter and the name, or either of the two. And the name, if the voter is actually in the KIMS register, he's going to be identified. The picture will pop up, and his or her detail will come out, and then the voter will be asked to fill a form to confirm that he has not been identified using the fingerprint from that 2A. And when he fills that form, it is expected that this particular voter will be allowed to proceed, because actually all the details of this voter has been found in the register. Alternatively, the ID of the voter has a barcode behind, and this is what can be scanned using the KIMS kit. You just lift the KIMS kit and you scan the ID, the barcode behind the ID. When you scan, you are going to realize the ID will be captured in the KIMS, and the details of the voter also will come out, and then the voter will be allowed to vote.
Okay, let's proceed to the collection of
then from there you hand over the document of the voter to clerk number 2, who there are 3 clerks who are going to give the ballot papers. In this demonstration we only have 1 clerk. The first clerk is expected to give ballot papers for the President and member of National Assembly. The second clerk will give the voter the MCA ballot paper, and then he will give the senator ballot paper. If you can see, the ballot papers are different in colors. Those colors also match the ballot boxes lids, as you are going to see when we focus on the ballot boxes. Then the third clerk will give the ballot paper of women, national member of parliament, and the governor. And then the voter will then proceed. One important thing is that the ballot papers should be stamped, and then he proceeds to the booth. It is supposed to be a secret ballot at the booth. The voter will mark at only one box, tick at the box at the right-hand corner. The voter is expected to tick only one box, and he tick all the 6 ballot papers. And when he's ticking, the other thing that is important to note is that in a polling station there are different type of people who come. Some people have disability, others are mothers who are nursing mothers, and others, and we give priority accordingly. And then the voter proceeds to cast the ballot paper. He will start with the president. You can see he's matching the white. You look at the color of the ballot paper and against the lid of the ballot box, and then you cast accordingly. One thing is that if you cast the ballot paper in the long ballot box, your vote will not count, because it will be treated as a stray ballot. When it's a stray ballot, it means that particular vote will not count, and that will be a wasted vote. So it is very important that the voter cast the ballot paper in the right ballot box. Finally, the voter has finished voting, and the last stage of voting is when he comes back and pick his documents from the last clerk, and then he's marked to ensure that he doesn't come back to the polling station for voting. So we are going to mark the voter at the left hand side, the small figure of the left hand side, and then you mark her, then she leaves the station. In case of like this voter who has cutex, very beautiful cutex on her nails, we may not want to spoil your nails. So what we'll do, we'll look for an alternative place to mark, and we are going to mark between here, in between the fingers, so that that voter is identified, is confirmed that he has actually voted. So if he comes to the polling station, then he takes his document and leaves the polling station. In case he happens to come back to the polling station to start and wanting to vote twice, he will not be identified. The machine will not agree to identify this voter. It will indicate that this voter has already been identified. So he cannot, the machine will not allow this particular voter to vote twice. And after all, it's actually a criminal thing for a voter to think, even imagine he can come and vote twice. All right. And will people be allowed to mill about the polling station, you know, once they voted, to quote-unquote safeguard the vote? No, they will not be allowed. A polling station is demarcated, and it is usually 400 meters radius. You cannot be allowed. While you vote, you are allowed to walk home and do other national building activities, and allow the IBC and the agents who have been identified, because every party and every candidate has been allowed to have one candidate, so one agent, sorry. So once they are agents there, then the rest of the citizens, once they vote, they should actually go home, so that they wait that the task of voting and counting of votes. All right, thank you very much, Anne and Pamela, for that demonstration. Let me come to my technical side of the panel. Any questions regarding that process and the integrity of it, particularly where one is not identified biometrically?
Well, maybe I could shoot the first question to Dr. Kombe. Sure. Obviously, the process moved on very smoothly, but this is clearly in a controlled environment. But in the real situation on August the 8th, where the actual voting is happening, will the system work seamlessly like we have seen? But most important, in case, for example, like we saw last time, let's say technology failure, or for some reason the machine refuses to power on, or for some reason somebody has not been identified, are your officials adequately trained to deal with some of these issues? Because what we saw in 2013, when the machines refused to work or there was no power, the officials did not know how to react or actually address this particular issue. Have you now ensured that first this system will work as smoothly and seamlessly like we have seen, but then also your officials are adequately trained to deal with anything that comes up on that particular.
Perhaps I can redirect that question to Chris, who's the ICT manager.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've also learned from our lessons of 2013. Most of the issues that you are raising are issues that happened in 2013 general elections. And I think as a commission, we have learned from those mistakes. And we have spent a lot of time and effort in terms of trying to close those gaps of 2013. Now, if there is total failure of the technology, which we do not anticipate, because the way the technology is designed, it's not a system that is dependent on each other. It's a system that is does back processing, especially for identification. So if a kit in a polling station, for example, fails, we have put in place mechanisms to ensure that there's continuity. Number one is that we have provided backup kits on election day to each and every ward at the ward level. For any kit that fails, we are able to deploy another kit very quickly to that polling station. Number two is that we have trained our officers adequately, and currently our training is going on. We started the training last week, and we are training all the officers. We have recruited the electoral officers who we are going to thoroughly train on the utilization of this technology on election day. Number three is that we have put in place a good project management, because in 2013 there was no project management. What happened is that the electoral technology came late, and there was no time to even train people on it, so that the users can internalize the system itself and use it effectively. So what we've done this time around is that we have provided a good project management, where we are having technical people who have been trained on this technology deployed at the constituency level to support this technology in case of failure.
All right. Anne, I want to return to you now. So the voting is complete. The polling station has been closed, and now it's converted into a tallying center. Walk us through the process after 6 p.m.
After 6 p.m., when the presiding officer realizes that the time has come to close the polling station, the first thing to do is to confirm that the time you opened corresponds with the time that you are. If you opened at 6 in the morning, you are supposed to close at 5. Yeah, you are supposed to close at 5. And when you close, if you open late for any purpose, you are actually expected to extend a few minutes after that. After closing, you announce that the polling station has closed, and then you come and close the aperture in the presence of the agents. When you close the aperture using a seal, then you complete the process, and you close and have a.
And that's supposed to make sure that there's no tampering with.
There's no tampering, and we have a polling station diary. In every of this process, you are recording in your polling station diary. You are recording the seals, and the polling station diary is this one. You are recording the seals to ensure that all the seals are well as you put them in the morning. When you close, and
they have serial numbers and all of that.
Yeah, they have serial numbers. Every seal has some serial numbers, and like this one is IBC 1402011.
So there's no chance that somewhere along the way, when it's time to open the boxes, you'll be opening a fake box that has been stuffed.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you have already recorded the serial numbers, and the agents have been there. What cannot happen, every other time the presiding officer and the clerk inside the room, their eyes are on the boxes and the strategic electoral materials. So at no point are the materials left on their own. And then you are also recording everything about the serial numbers, and then you come, you close your aperture. After you close your aperture, then you proceed for a 15-minute break.
All right. Yeah. Skip me through now to the point where you start vote counting. How does that happen?
Now, when you come back from the 15-minute break, the first thing you do is arrange the room now for counting. When you arrange the room for counting, some of your clerk stands on this side, seated. They sit on this side, the others sit on the other side, and then you start now opening the process. When in the presence of the agent, you take your hacksaw, this hacksaw, you cut all the seals, and you have confirmed in the polling station diary that they are actually the seals that you put in the morning. So when you cut all the seals, yeah, this one is already. Then you open your box. The ballot papers are inside here. Now they are votes. You pour all the content of your ballot box.
And this is being done in the presence of how many party agents?
Party agents, we accredit party agents. One, they are accredited. It is very important to note that not every person.
How many are there? Is it 2 per party?
No, 1 per party.
1 per party.
1 per party.
Okay.
And in case of independent candidates, 1 per independent candidate. So once you do that, they are witnessing what you are doing, and then you pour all your ballot papers.
Now you will be displaying these papers for everyone to see, and there are different types of papers that you're likely to come across. Give us the differences between what would be a valid vote vis-a-vis what is a stray vote. I think you explained that earlier, rejected, disputed, and so on and so forth.
Okay, there are several ballot papers that you are going to find inside the box. The first one is the valid, which we expect should be in the majority. The valid, the one that has been marked correctly for the right person, and you can see clearly it has been marked for a particular person. The other one we are likely to see is the stray ballot, and that's why when we were discussing, we said the stray ballot is the risky one because it's well marked but put in the wrong box.
Right.
The other one we are going to see when we are counting together with the agents is that some agents you see a ballot paper that is not marked correctly, and then that one you reject as the presiding officer. The person who is coordinating all that is the presiding officer.
And by not marked correctly, what do you mean by that? Is it being marked outside the box?
It can be marked twice. Somebody put an X and also a right. Somebody can also put a signature or a name. Somebody can actually mark across 3 people, three boxes. So by not being clear who is marked, who is the owner of that particular ballot paper, that is how it becomes rejected. And once it's rejected by the presiding officer, there can be somebody who raises a voice and say, even if you are rejecting this particular ballot paper, I am objecting to that rejection. So you are going to there will be a ballot paper called rejected, objected to, because you have rejected, but somebody has objected to it.
Right.
The other one is that there shall be ballot papers that are disputed. For instance, if you mark, and I want to demonstrate this, if somebody come and mark from here and move the tick, and then it closes a bit on the other side, this particular person will say, the agent of this particular person will say, this vote belongs to my candidate, and this other one will say, it belongs to my candidate because it has closed also on the other side. This one, in most cases, it can become a disputed vote. Once it becomes a disputed vote, it means that the PO has to make a decision finally where this vote belong to.
All right, let me hold you there. Peter, because you've handled a significant amount of disputes, take us back to the last election and the Supreme Court ruling. What constitutes 50+1 in this case, where you have, is it the total votes that have been cast, or does that include, or is it only the valid votes? Because she's just told us about the different types of ballots that can be there. What is 50+1 as we go into this election?
Yeah, it's a very, very important question, and in this electoral process where the votes are really contested. The 50+1 is the votes which are really cast, not the rejected votes.
So that is what? Are you saying that's the total votes cast or the valid votes?
The total votes cast. If you look at the legal framework, it talks about the total votes cast, which includes, in my view, the votes which were rejected by, and that's the correct position.
All right, so it's time to start tallying and transmitting. You've done the counting, and I want to fast forward to the point where you start transmitting the results. How will that be done?
Before you start transmitting the results, you are supposed to fill the forms. After counting, which counting has several processes. First of all is sorting, then from sorting you go to tallying. We have a tally sheet from that 3. This from that 3, which tallies for every candidate. And it's just tallies, put the right and then you bundle after you tally. Then you start counting one by one. When you count, depending on which position you are counting. For example, right now we are counting the presidential ballot papers, the presidential votes. Then you fill different form. What I want to clarify is that all from that 4A, for example, is the presidential, and all the A series belong to the polling station. So you are going to have that 4A, which is presidential, that 5A, which is member of parliament, and you can see they have similar colors that look like the ballot paper and ballot boxes. And could you just skim through what is contained on that form? What are your agents, your officials marking off on that form? In this particular form, we have the polling station, the ward, the constituency, the county, and the polling station code, the ward code, the constituency code, and the county code. Then from there, it is the candidates. There's candidate 1. For example, in our dummy dummy form, that 5, which is for member of National Assembly, we have Akri Rembo, Lea Vumilia, Mema Bereni.
Right, we don't have to go through.
Then immediately after that, we have total number of votes cast.
Right.
Then you have the different ballot papers I was speaking about. The total number of registered voters is very critical. Then total number of rejected, objected to ballot papers. Then total number of disputed votes. Total number of valid votes cast. And then you go distributing like that.
Fair enough.
When you're counting, you're going to allocate according to how many votes each candidate garnered.
So now you've done your counting, your forms are filled out, and it's time to transmit the results. How does that happen?
Now, when you are transmitting results, you go back to your KIMS kit, which is right here. The KIMS kit has because it's the integrated electoral management system, it has the component of result transmission system. And when you open your KIMS kit, you are going to key in the data that is in this form. This particular form, for example, let's concentrate on our form, that 4A, which is presidential. The minute you have this form, it's filled up, and you have what each candidate garnered, the rejected, the objected to, and the totals. You are going to copy the content of this form into the KIMS system, and you be very careful in the presence of the agent and the observers, and you are confirming every details as you do that. And you go through the process of transmission from one step to the other until the results are transmitted. Then you also take this, you scan, you take the KIMS kit and scan the same form, and we are scanning only from that 4A, the presidential form.
Right.
Yeah, so when you are saying SED, the numerical data, you are also sending together with the scanned form from that 4A. Then you said both of them, and now they are transmitted, and then you see them in the screens.
Okay, well, let me start it off, Chris. What happens in areas where there is a poor network, like 2G, for instance?
Right, thanks, Anne. I think we've done our network sizing and survey. We are working with all the mobile network operators in this project. In 2013, we only worked with 1. Now we are working with 3, meaning that we are having more coverage and more availability of the system for purposes of resource transmission. That kit that you've seen there has 2 SIM cards, meaning that at any given time, the kit has access to 2 networks. Now that kit again has network management software that is intelligent to pick the strongest network in any area that the polling station is. So when it comes to results transmission, the officer, once they initiate the results transmission process, the network management software will scan the networks around there and pick the strongest that is available at that particular area and use that network for results transmission. Now, talking about the data technologies in mobile telephony, our kit is able to transmit through 2G and 3G. Our kit is also Wi-Fi enabled, a secure Wi-Fi, and we will be deploying for areas without any coverage of GSM. We know there are parts of Kenya that totally are not covered by any network. So in those areas, the Commission has made a decision that for purposes of results transmission, we will be deploying secure satellite network devices that again, the KIMS kit is able to pick that network and use that network for results transmission.
Sam.
All right. I think you are really expressing a lot of confidence in technology, and yet we know that any time technology is deployed in whatever field, there is always possibility of failure in 2 ways. One is technology failure, what you would call technical hitches, in quotes, which is what you told us in 2013. The second issue is human failure or human error. Now, on the side of technology, it seems that you have tried to address all the issues, but there is the question of the human element. Are there instances, for example, of collusion, or if somebody could decide, for example, the reconciliation between the total number of votes cast or the people who were identified biometrically, and then when the transmission of results, you're saying the system is integrated. Is there a possibility for mischief? For example, what is entered in the form before it's scanned, something different is transmitted? And maybe yes, and maybe on the same, you're saying that there is network coverage, or at least you have ensured to make sure that there are 2 SIM cards deployed in every kit. What about a situation where both networks fail and the Wi-Fi is not working? What recourse do you have?
No, thanks, Sam. I think for purposes of human capacity to operate the technology, I had said here earlier that the challenges of 2013 was because the technology came late, just a few weeks to the election. There was no time to train people. There was no time for people to internalize this technology and to utilize it efficiently. Now this time round, remember from the in May this year, we were doing inspection and verification of the register using these same gadgets that we have here. And I think we had about a total of 7.9 million Kenyans who appeared to do the biometric inspection of the register. And I can tell you the success rate is over 95% in terms of biometric. Of course, we understand that the situation is not similar to election day operations. But what we are doing in order to ensure that the kits work efficiently on election day is to test them, repeatedly test them, and to ensure that the issues of power for the kit are addressed, because those are some of the challenges of 2013. The issue of capacity of the officers that are operating the gadgets. We have already used those gadgets for a whole month in May, and those officers are very comfortable with this technology at the moment.
I think on that issue is a fundamental question that I think we need to ask IEBC. And in my view, IEBC should work on the assumption that in some of these situations, the framework can actually fail. The technology that you have put in the field can fail. So the question is that the legal framework allows the development of a complementary identification and the transmission system. So in cases where the technology has completely failed, and you are certain as a commission that this technology has failed, and that you now need to revert to that manual complementary backup system. So what is this system? What are the safeguards that you've put in place to ensure that this system is not sabotaged, this system is accurate, simple and verifiable, and indeed the results which will be transmitted through this manual backup system is a true reflection of the will of the people.
Commissioner,
I'm seeing so many disputes coming out of that issue, specifically from counties which are definitely remote. You don't expect technology to work very well in a place like Mandera. You can plan very well today, then tomorrow the system is under attack by Al-Shabaab, and you have to develop the other backup system.
Right. Commissioner Kombe.
No, I think what Chris has been explaining is that on the identification, the module, the identification module in the gadget, really, as Kenyans, we have no as IEBC, we have no excuse to come and tell Kenyans that that has failed, because it's a standalone. You know, it's like your phone fails to work, we'll replace it with another phone. The system is in such a manner that it's not centrally controlled somewhere where, again, I'm going back to Daktari's previous question about human intervention or hijacking of the system, which is possible in any environment. But that is why those are some of the safeguards that we have put in place to ensure that you have a system that is standalone, at least the identification part. That if you have a problem with, it's one gadget that you can replace with another one, and for us, we are really banking on ensuring that that system works, because we know that the default complementary mechanism has its challenges, and that is what I'm trying to address. That is what I'm addressing. The complementary mechanism is clearly laid out in the regulations, because the laws now provide for the complementary mechanism. I'm aware that there is a political party that has gone to court to ask for the court to squash the complementary mechanism, but that is what is there in default. And the complementary mechanism is, as far as it relates to identification of voters, we have pretty much borrowed a lot from the Ghana model, whereby you as a voter, and you saw Anne explain that out, that when you come in as a voter, then you need to show your documents. Once you show your documents, you fill the Form 32A in front of the various agents, and once those forms are filled by the various agents, you certify that the person is on the register, which will be a manual register if the system fails, and then you'll go ahead and vote. You know, in terms of, and that is why for us as a country, if you are talking about a complementary mechanism, that is what is there. And
that's now with what you eventually transmit as results.
In terms of transmission, if you're saying that the complementary mechanism the gadget has failed, then it means that even the complementary mechanism for transmission of the results is going to be outside the KIMS gadgets, because the KIMS gadgets won't work. Then in that case, what will happen is that you will go with our procedures of having to transmit those results by satellite phone, or if you have access to that, or by the hard copy forms themselves. You know, it's almost going back to 2013, which is really what we don't want to go to, because we know that some of the challenges that were faced in the 2013 framework.
But I think Peter's question is, if hell and high water happen on the day and they are forced to that complementary system, how have you tried to safeguard it so that we don't see the same sort of, you know, antics that we saw in 2013? If one has to physically deliver the requisite form, how are you safeguarding that form to make sure that it is not, you end up with what was actually declared at the polling station?
I mean, I think one of the things you've had us repeat on many occasions here and on this set, that the problem of our country is a problem of strongholds. And if you can have ways in which you increase the number of agents that you have there, you protect, you saw us come up with a statement saying the importance of ensuring that you protect the rights of agents of the various political parties, because they're the eyes of the various political parties and independent candidates. If in an ideal situation like it happens elsewhere, you have agents in each of those polling stations, they're the ones to safeguard the votes, to ensure that the accountability is there. We have trained our staff, we have reminded our staff of the Election Offences Act, of the importance of ensuring that they adhere to that Election Offences Act. But there is a limit to how to the mechanisms that you can put in place if you do not have a situation in which political party agents are active, observers are there to see what is going on and to ensuring that accountability is there.
Peter, are you satisfied?
Of course I'm not satisfied on that issue for the following reasons. One, I don't think IEBC has done a proper civic education to enable Kenyans understand the scope of that mechanism which they can deploy, and also to ensure that that mechanism is simple, accurate and verifiable. I think that's an issue which can cause a lot of political disquiet, and in my view IEBC should invest in that. But more significantly, in 2013 the Raila Uhuru dispute was determined partly on the question of the principal register. So what we are asking the commission is that kit that you say contains all the information, is the information which is contained in that kit the same information which is there in the principal register? And where is this principal register? Is this principal register the one that you're going to publish online? And if there are discrepancies between the principal register, the one which you publish online as required by law, and the information in the kit, do you think it is something which needs to be looked at?
I just want to assure all our viewers, we have only one register. There is nothing like a principal register and a provisional register and any other thing. We only have what is required by the law, which is for us to have a register of voters. And that is what we have. It's only one. It is the same register that is going to be
published now.
It is the same register. It is the same register that will be available in the KIMS. There is no situation in which you as a voter will go into a polling station and you can find your name in a manual register.
Has it been published?
Online.
The register is available.
And comfort of the
register is available. That is why when you put in the number 70,000, you are able to get your details.
If it was not available, the law says publish that register online. Actually, the deadline was actually today, Monday. Today is the deadline for that publication, and the reason for that publication is to ensure that there is comfort of all the political actors. So the register which we are dealing with is the register which is
I think it's fair to say that the register has not been published online. So perhaps the question should be, does IEBC intend to publish this register online?
I mean, look, we have talked about that register for a long time. Let me say one very important thing. When we were out here drumming the bells, asking people to go and do the verification, it is what we are getting political parties asking us to do now. The 1 month period where we put out the register, both hard copy and on the KIMS, and asked Kenyans to go and biometrically verify themselves, was an opportunity for a lot of the questions that we are getting now being raised. We urged political parties to send their agents to look at that register, to be able to raise issues that they are raising now about deceased voters, to be able to raise issues that they're raising now about areas of coverage of voters that are not, are underage. Those are the issues that should have been raised at that point, and that is what you do. That's what you had for a whole month. The register is now certified.
This register now, one can only access it if they pay the requisite fee of how much is it again?
The register is now certified, and there is no changes even if you came, and that is why again I go back to
Commissioner, you're sidestepping my question, and I'm asking a very simple, direct question. You're either publishing it online or you're not. That is the first. Second, you are either saying that the only way to get this register is to pay, I believe, was it 20,000 or?
By the way, let me go back to the law again. I'm not a lawyer, but just go back to your law and see what it asks you to do. The law requires us to register, to publish the register. It breaks down what that register is. It says the number of registered voters per polling station, per ward, per constituency. It does not say the names.
No. I think that's why we are going to have a lot of this. We are going to have a lot of problems between the candidates and the commission. The law is express, clear and unequivocal that the commission shall publish the list of the registered voters without any exception. And the requirement in law is that document shall be published online. And as we speak, every lawyer who is intending to defend election petitions or prosecute is looking for that list. The question is that if the list is available online and parties are able to verify that indeed this is the number of registered voters in a particular county, these are the ones who voted, and there are no discrepancy, that to me will be a free and fair elections. But if you don't publish that list online, in my view, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Again, we'll go back to 2013, the era of secrecy, where the commission is the one which determines what is the principal register. When you're in court, you are telling the judge that this is a document published by the commission, the commission is on that document. And also, a legal requirement was introduced that that document should be published online for anyone who cares should go and verify. So that is an issue, is a critical electoral law compliance issue, which in my view the commission should seriously consider, because it undermines the integrity of the electoral process if you still maintaining that document with some kind of secrecy and all that.
There is no secrecy, and we have said here that that register is available. We have said here that if you need to get a copy of the register, the 19.611 million voters, you'll have access to it. We have already received communication from political parties. We have received communication from individuals.
The law is there. It says you shall publish that document online.
The regulations also provide, just when you read the law, also read it in its entirety. The regulations also provide for the method of sharing that register in its entirety to civilians. And we can't read the law when it favors on one side and don't look at all the other aspects.
So that law has no exceptions.
Well, let's leave that there. I suppose we'll find out the answer to that in court, won't we? If one has to end up there.
You have published the statistics.
No. I think statistics is not what...
the law doesn't say...
Let's move on, because we are running out of time.
And you can see on that issue, there will be a lot of conflict between candidates and...
You know what? We're just going to wait and see. we the public, we the media. All right, I want to move on from that to now. We've had, the results transmitted, and just some clarity on that. In assuming that technology does work and you have the scanned copy received, at your central server at Bomas, it's there. Will you still have to await the arrival of the physical document before any results are official, or will the scanned copy suffice?
I think there are some policy decisions that are yet to be taken by the Commission in view of the Court of Appeal decision, and that is one of those issues. But I think one of the things that we should have mentioned probably when Anne was making this presentation is that unlike 2013, this time we are providing the carbonated forms, which means that when you fill, we are trying to limit the number of errors that you will find in the forms. So when you fill as a presiding officer, instead of filling 16 different forms for different agents, you'll fill one, and then you give copies to each of them.
All right. And is it safe, I beg your pardon, Sam, is it safe to assume that the result that we'll be seeing will be transmitted via KIMS is what we're going to be seeing displayed on the big screen at Bomas automatically, or will there be any point of clarification, intervention, a second eye at Bomas before it goes up?
We have no interest in having a second eye or a third eye or a fourth eye.
Right.
The results as transmitted from the polling station and from the constituency will be what you'll be seeing. There will be no human intervention. There will be no formulas applied somewhere else to change the results.
All right.
What you will see is what you will have.
Dr. Kamal.
Okay, two issues. There's one question we didn't answer previously: how you reconcile the voters who are verified biometrically when they come to the station, and in case you use the complementary method in the transmission of the results, how you reconcile those two. But more important is the question of the vendor or the supplier of these kits. Now, you have said that there is no centralized system of controlling these. What is the extent of involvement of the supplier or the vendor of the kit in case there is any technology challenge? In other words, is IEBC fully in control of the process, or there is a certain extent to which they have to rely on the supplier and the vendor to make certain intervention, and does that open possibility for external manipulation? Maybe you can take that.
Yeah, the reconciliation for results that are people who are identified biometrically and people who are identified through alphanumeric search, through the process that Anne explained there very well, is that both are captured in the in the kit. Both of them are captured in the kit. So the results transmission just goes that it will be the result, the people who have been identified, and those are the results that will be transmitted.
So in case there is a discrepancy?
There will be no discrepancy. Why should there be a discrepancy and yet they are both captured in the system?
The human factor.
I don't foresee any human factor if the people are identified biometrically and we use the complementary method, either scanning of the ID, because it ends up in the same process. Yes, so there's nothing that is going out of the system. What we are talking about, complementary method of results transmission, if there is total failure of this kit, we bring another one, it fails, we bring a third one, it fails, and then we are not using technology, isn't it? then we have to totally go to the full manual complementary method. Okay. That does not require resource transmission with the gadget. But whether you are identified biometrically or through an alphanumeric search, those are accepted by our system, and that will be the control that we'll use to transmit results.
What about the second question on the involvement of the vendor?
Now, if you look at the tender document that we gave out to solicit for a partner to work with us in terms of implementation of the technology, one of the major things that we required was project management. And if anybody has looked at those requirements, you look at our document and you will see a very big portion of project management. What does that mean? That means that we did not want somebody to bring us some gadgets and leave them with us, that they have already supplied and they are going. We wanted somebody to work with us, impart the knowledge to our people, work with us in project management on election day. Until after the elections is when that partnership.
What exactly will that partnership entail on election day? Because as far as the public is concerned, IEBC and IEBC alone is running this election.
For example, what would be the role of the vendor beyond the service and maintenance of the
Exactly.
Exactly. Their role will be support, to support the technology. Together with us, we'll be working with them to support the technology. We will be deploying our officers who will be in the front line to work with the technology. But in case of challenges that require deeper understanding of the technology, the vendor has that capacity. And that is the capacity that we will be putting available or making available on election day.
So you're saying if the KIMS kits significantly fail on election day, we can expect the vendor to pick up the kit, try and sort it out, and then return it to IEBC. That's what you're saying.
Let me tell you the mechanism that we put in place so that everybody understands the mechanism. Now, this kit has been deployed to a polling station. For some reason, it's not working. We have put in a support mechanism. We are going to have a constituency support office, county support office, and national support office for technology. That is something that we put in place as a commission. So if this thing fails in this polling station, the first port of call will be a technician who is at the constituency level.
Is that technician IBC or Safran?
Both.
Identity security?
We have recruited recently, if you've been keen, we have recruited 47 county ICT officers who we have just trained last week in this technology. We are recruiting 580 constituency ICT officers for the commission who we are fully training on the management of the technology on election day. So this is a support structure for technology that we are putting in place for the IEBC. As I've said, the vendor is providing deeper support because they are the manufacturers of this product. So they understand the product and its technicalities all through. But us, we are interested in the performance of this gadget. We are interested in the performance of the applications deployed in this gadget, which we already understand. But the vendor comes in when there are deeper technology problems.
But I think maybe what I want to assure you, what I want to assure you is that the control of the data and the processes is totally in the hands of the IEBC. We are not releasing, you know, the concerns that I hear you express, Daktari, is that do you probably have, you know, Safran being able to manipulate and remote access. That is one issue that actually as a commission we've been insisting about ensuring that we are able to audit all these processes, but that we have full control when it comes to the data and when it comes to the management of that data and the transmission of that data.
Right.
That is something that we have not ceded control.
I'll come out for final comment, and of course after that they'll announce, you'll be seeing it on your big screens, we'll be broadcasting it for you, and that's how you'll find out who has won or lost the election, as the case may be. So I'll come around to my panel for final comments. Peter, let me start with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's absolutely critical that IEBC manages the expectation of the dominant political actors and as well as the small-time players in this electoral process. And in my view, IEBC they need to look at the Constitution and the Election Act and see that this legal framework is one of the only legal framework which allows IEBC to build the confidence of its system by involving key stakeholders in the process. So my advice to IEBC is that when you are moving from that complementary process to the other process, you want to involve the other stakeholders and all that, internal stakeholders, your consultants. You need to really take on board the spirit of the Elections Act, involve the political actors in the process. That way you will minimize a lot of conflicts which will, might emerge if you don't do that. Okay,
Dr. Sam.
I think IEBC is continually engaged in the process of learning and engaging the stakeholders to make sure that information and concerns that are being raised by the various stakeholders are taken into consideration. But the only concern I wanted to make at this point, of course, is the high cost of this equipment. We had to discard a good part of what we had in 2013. I'm wondering whether come 2022, we are again going to discard what we currently have and again use a couple of billions to again invest in another electoral management system, or with this particular technology be able to serve us beyond now and into the future. Maybe that's something you could address also in your closing remarks.
Finally, Chris.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. I think for us at the IEBC, we are going to do our best to ensure that the technology works on election day. The architecture of this technology has been very well thought out in the Kenyan context, where we have challenges of infrastructure in certain parts of the country. And therefore, for us to deploy what we are going to deploy, we know it is going to work, because as Commissioner has said, our identification system does not need a network access. Everything is stored in the secure SD card that we have in the device, and that is going to be a local identification. So we know that that will work in terms of the technology itself. Unless somebody wants to play mischief with it, those are risks that could be there, because technology sometimes people can tamper with it or people can just reject it. But for the kind of training programs that we put in place for our officers, we're confident that this technology is going to work on election day. And we need your support for going forward as IEBC, because this commission is mandated to run elections for Kenyans, and Kenyans need to have faith and support it.
Dr. Kombe.
First, I'm really to really thank you for thinking through this, because I think this is a very important voter education opportunity that you are giving to the Kenyans, and you are the first in all the networks to do this. So really to commend you for coming up with this creative idea of showing the Kenyans. And I think despite all the challenges we are seeing out there, I mean, for me, being here and seeing this reminds, or should be, a confidence building measure to Kenyans to say, even though we don't have the ballot papers yet for the presidential election, we are ready. We are working day and night to ensure that we deliver what the Kenyans have asked us to do. And we are committed to ensuring that we do what is right. And we urge all Kenyans to work with us. You know, it was very heartening for me. I felt really happy today watching and seeing how the LSK, KOTU and many others have come out to defend the judiciary and the independence of the judiciary. And I remarked, I said, I would love the day when I will see LSK, KOTU and all other people taking the floor and saying, when the IEBC's independence is attacked, we will come and protect that independence, because it is a duty of the IEBC to express that independence and to be able to deliver a free, fair and credible election to the Kenyan people.
And I thank you all for your views, and also my special thanks to Anne Nderitu, who is the manager in charge of electoral training at IEBC, and her colleague Benjamin, who were our clerks this evening. IEBC Commissioner Dr. Roselyn Akombe Kwamboka, ICT Manager Chris Musando, Pamela Owiti, who was our voter this evening, and from my technical panel, Dr. Sam Kamau and lawyer Peter Wanyama. My thanks to you all. Certainly hope it will go off without a hitch on August the 8th, as it did here in studio. I am Anne Kiguta. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night and God bless.